Hi, my name's Aisha. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before, and if you're new then welcome. Welcome to all of my new subscribers that have joined the YouTube family over here. Thank you for subscribing, and if you're not already subscribed then please just hit that button and subscribe. Someone needs to get me off of the number that I'm currently on, so someone hit that red button and subscribe please. In today's video I'm going to be answering one of the questions that I received last week, which was how do you find a property that's affordable and then that's also in an area that's diverse as well. So hopefully today's video will be quite useful because I've seen this question asked quite a bit on different social media platforms, and so it's obviously a genuine concern. Hopefully what I show you today is going to help you with your property search so that you can try to find an area that is suitable for you. So before I talk about finding an area that's diverse, I'm going to talk about affordability because that was part of the question, and also I've had other questions asking about which places are affordable, and I know lots of you want to know which areas you can head to and find a property that's going to maybe match your budget. According to mylondon, in terms of Greater London, the top 10 most affordable London boroughs in order of cheapest to most expensive. The cheapest is Barking and Dagenham, where the average property price is £275,497,000. That might sound like a lot, but in terms of what you can afford for that price, that's like a 2-bedroom house or a 2-bedroom flat. There are obviously 1-bedroom flats that are cheaper than that if you go further out. So for example, my first flat was £92,000. That was a couple of years ago, but you still can find 1-bedroom flats for around 100,000, 120,000 or so. So 150,000 in a London borough in Barking and Dagenham. Newham is the next most affordable, followed by Croydon, then Bexley, then Havering, Hounslow, Enfield, Lewisham, Sutton and Redbridge. So if you are looking to absolutely stay in a London borough, then you can check out one of those areas on that list. I'll leave the list in the description below so that you can see those towns in order, and I'll also put the prices next to them, the average prices, so that you can see what your money kind of can afford in that area. With averages, I will just say that it's an average, so half the property prices are going to be more, half of the property prices are going to be less, so it's an average. So you can definitely find cheaper properties than the figures listed below. If those areas are still out of your budget but you still want to be closer to London, then you can use that list to help you find out where you kind of maybe want to go. So for example, if you can't afford to live somewhere like Bromley or Bexley, then you might want to have a look at Tunbridge Wells or Chatham, for example, because they are going to be much cheaper and then they're along that southeast stretch. If you can't afford Sussex or Croydon, then you might look at Horsham, which is again a bit cheaper. On the east side, Chelmsford might be cheaper. On the west side, you might look at Slough or Reading. And then in the north, you could look at Luton, which is going to be cheaper than the North London boroughs. So hopefully that helps. So this is something that I did when I was getting my first flat. I looked at the map, literally, I looked at it, and obviously I'm from southeast London, so I looked at where southeast London was and I looked at where was nearby, and that's why I ended up in Kent, because that's along that southeast stretch. So just have a look at where you want to be and then go off in that direction and see which areas are going to be affordable. And then also you could look at the video that I did on how to find affordable properties. I'll leave a link for you up here somewhere so that you can see how I search for affordable properties on Rightmove, because sometimes you get things coming up and you think that they're right and they're not right, and so by following the tips that I give you in that video, you will be able to see whether you can afford the area that you want to live in. Okay, so onto the main part of the video. I'm going to talk about how you can maybe find an area that matches what you want. So for some people, they want an area that's diverse because it makes sense. People want to walk out of their door and see people that reflects them, have similar values, similar traditions, and you want to feel comfortable in your area. You want to feel safe in your area, and I get that. For some, it might be ethnicity that you're looking at. For some, it might be like education. For some, it might be how wealthy the area is or what the health is like in the area. And so depending on what you are looking for, there are ways to find that information out about a town, and you can figure out whether that is where you want to go or whether you should avoid it because it's nothing like where you want to be. I will say though, before going any further, is that you can try and find something that you think might be perfect and ticks all of the boxes, but it might not be the same in reality. So it's only when you actually are living somewhere that you really get an idea of what the place is like and what it feels like, who is around in that area, who your neighbours are. You can knock on the door before you buy somewhere. You can see your neighbour and you might like them. They might move in a year's time, 2 years' time. You might have someone new coming in. Buildings might change in the area. Schools might change in the area. Regeneration might happen in the area, and those changes could be good changes or they could be bad changes. So I would avoid like having a list that you absolutely, it's like anything in life, get what you can get, but if like one thing is missing off your list, then maybe don't let that be the thing that throws you off of buying a property entirely. So figure out what your core important things are and kind of work with those things. So I'm going to take you through how I search for information about an area before I like maybe buy a property, and you can see how you can use the tools that are out there. I always say on like every video pretty much, research, research, research. This is no different. The information is out there just waiting for you to find it and interpret it. And I'm going to use examples today. I'm going to use maybe Croydon, and I'll use Horsham. So if you're thinking Croydon is more where you want to be and you can't quite afford Croydon, and I did suggest in the video that Horsham is quite along that way and maybe is more affordable, so you could look at the difference. So if Croydon is what you're familiar with, you can compare how the two stack up, considering that they're quite close by, and so you can get an idea of how to sort of use the data and compare different places. Before I show the screen capture, I will warn you that one of the websites has adverts. They're not like horrible adverts or anything, but they're annoying. I know people have got to get paid, and that's one way of getting money when you've got a website, but it's a little bit annoying. I'll try and crop some of it out, but there's adverts there, so I apologise in advance for that. If you search in Google, you can find out demographics for an area and use this information to help you in your property search. So by looking at this website, you can get a very quick idea of who lives in Horsham. Looking at this chart here, you can tell that there's a high proportion of middle-aged to older people. There's not so many 20-year-olds in comparison with the middle-aged or maybe the younger ones. Looking at the pie chart to the bottom right, you can see the diversity of the area, or maybe the lack of diversity in this example. So the area is mostly white, and then there are 2% Asians and then 0.5% black people living in that area. And so if that's what you like, then you could go for this area. If it's not what you like, then you would avoid it. If it matters to you, you can also see what religion people are. So in this particular area, it's mostly Christians, and then a large proportion of people don't have any religion at all. So you can also look at the socio-economic status for an area as well. So in this data, it shows that 37% of people own their homes, with the rest of the people in that area renting. You can also see that a high percentage of the population are professionals and have higher managerial positions, and this statistic is 20% higher than the national average, which is a significant amount. You can also see the immigration status and the health statistics for areas as well. So you can see that this population is generally quite healthy, with very few people in a very bad health condition. Few people are on benefits, which means that there's quite a high employment rate, so that might be attractive to some people. In terms of highest level of education achieved, over 32% have a degree, which is equivalent to a level 4, and that might matter to you because higher levels of degrees in an area might mean that maybe the area is more affluent, or maybe the children might have more aspirations. If they are working towards heading towards university, then they might be more studious at school, so you might have better schools in the area as well. You might also choose to look at crime statistics for an area so that you can see how safe it's going to be. So in October this year, antisocial behaviour was the highest crime, followed by violent crime. You can also use the map to see where those crimes took place. So you could find the street that the property you want to buy is on, and you can see how close those crimes are to that address, and also what kind of crimes are close to that address as well. So if you zoom in, it pinpoints exactly where the report was from. Looking at Croydon, which is a Greater London borough that's close to Horsham, you can compare the difference. There are also quite a few middle-aged people in Croydon, but the trend is more even, so there's a few more 20-year-olds in that area as well. So if you're on the younger side, then Croydon might be more attractive to you for this reason. In terms of ethnicity, again, Croydon is mostly Caucasian, but it's at 55% instead of 96%. 20% of Croydon is black in comparison to the 0.5%, and then there is 16% for Asians instead of 2%. So you can tell straight away that Croydon is more diverse. This website breaks those groups down further so you can get a clearer picture of who exactly is living in the area. So for example, in terms of those 20% that are black, you can see that there are more Caribbeans in the area, followed by Africans. And then again, in terms of the Asians, you can see it's Indian Asians, followed by other Asians, Bangladeshi, and so on. Croydon is similar to Horsham in that there are more Christians, followed by those with no religion. In terms of jobs in Croydon, they've classified their data a bit differently, but again, there are lots of professionals in the area. There are 26.1% of the population that are at the lower end in terms of how they classify jobs, versus 14.3% in Horsham. In this one, you can actually also see how much different groups get paid, and so you can compare that way as well. Health is generally good here and very similar to Horsham as well, with very few people saying that they have very bad health. For highest level of education, again, there are higher numbers with a degree or equivalent. So it's at 36.2%, which is slightly higher than Horsham, and you can get more details of the qualifications as well as data on the schools on this website as well. The crime rate is higher in Croydon. The other source was over a month, whereas this is over a year, but it would still come out higher judging by that figure. Again, antisocial behaviour is an issue, followed by violence and sexual offences, so quite similar to Horsham as well. You can see that crime went down in April, I guess because of lockdown, but then old habits die hard, it seems, so they picked back up. Hopefully that gives you an idea of how to search for things and maybe interpret information so that you can see whether an area is going to be right for you before you commit to buying a property there. It is an important decision, buying a property, but as I said, don't let all of the things that you find out stop you from getting on the property ladder, because real estate is generally something that is going to over time appreciate in value. And so if you're not looking for a forever home right now, then maybe the tick list is less important, and if you are looking for a family home, then maybe you want to make sure that you get that right. You want to know that there are going to be schools your children can go to, they're going to feel comfortable, and all of the rest of it. So figure out where you're at in life and then use the information as a tool to help you on that journey. Another tip that I can give you is just maybe visiting the place that you are thinking of buying in, but not just once necessarily to go and see the house, but visit a couple of times, maybe 2 times, 3 times. What might be quite nice is making a day out of it. So take a friend or a partner or whoever and go and spend a day in that town. So maybe you can visit the shopping centre, you can go and have some food at one of the local restaurants, you could go to a park, you could visit a place of like local interest, like, you know, every area has its like monuments or whatever. You could visit one of those, you could drive past a couple of schools, you could drive down a few different streets, maybe close to the centre or on the outskirts of the town, and see what it's like and get a real flavour for it, because that way while you're there you're interacting with people who live there, who work there. You're going to see who is going to be around you and you can get a feel for it, and if it's for you then you might decide that you want to buy a home in that area. If it's not for you, then at most all you've done is just had a nice day out with a friend. So I would definitely recommend doing that. Go visit and spend some time in the area. That's probably more especially important if you are thinking of buying somewhere that's a forever home. Obviously, I know that there are tiers in place and people can't just be wandering around here, there and everywhere at the moment. So my suggestion is just a general suggestion. Obviously, when things relax at some point, whenever that is, that's something you can do then. Maybe in the meantime, you can use Google Street View. I don't know. You can get quite a lot of information from Street View though. Street View is actually quite a handy tool. Some people find like land and stuff and like development opportunities just by walking down the street. The only thing with Google though is that sometimes it is a bit outdated, so they might have gone down that particular street like years ago and then things have changed since then, so you can get an idea of it, and you can even go into some shops actually on Street View, so try it out. If you're bored while you're at home in tier 4, you can have a look at an area that you're interested in, go search around, walk along the streets on Google and see what you can find out about the place. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Just to say that I do actually do this before I buy a property, even if it's in the same town, like moving from the flat to the house. I looked at different data for this area, because different streets will have different data, so you can actually Google the street and you can find statistics for that particular street, and it will show you like maybe crime rates in the area and different things like that. So you can get a really good idea of who's living in your street, like how many like Caucasians there are, how many Africans there are, how many Caribbeans there are, who has degrees, who doesn't, who's working, who's not working. It actually breaks it down for you, so you can Google your street and then demographics in that street, and then it will let you know who's around the house that you're planning on buying. So yeah, hopefully that's been helpful. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then please subscribe, hit that red button, and you can then get all of the future content that I put out, whether it's renovations or DIYs or property advice for you guys. Feel free to keep asking questions. If this video has been helpful to you, then please give it a like, please leave a comment down below, and if you know of anyone that maybe might benefit from watching this video, then please share it with them or any of my other videos. You take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next video.